I'm working with Inktense pencils, and I have a very simple little photograph of a black and white cat. It's not even a very good one, but it's just the shapes I'm interested in. And I'm going to do it in this sort of style. Now, this little illustration of the bird uses graphitint, which has got a lot of graphite in it. So it's very subtle colouring. The Inktense are very intense, very bold colours. I'm using not a smooth paper this time, but quite a rough paper because I want some textures. So I'm going to begin by just, I know this seems very rough and ready, and it is, because all I want to do is put this very dark colour on. These are the colours I'm using, and this is the first one. I'm going to put this really, really dark colour on. I want some textures, and I'm just looking at that illustration of the cat and thinking, right, I wanted this on first, and this is going to be dramatic. It's going to be very, very bold. Gosh, there's some motorbikes outside. It's very busy in the village today. It's a bank holiday, so there's lots of people. So I'm sorry if there's any noises. Now we're going to go all the way up to here. I'm pressing a little bit lighter here because it's not as dark. It's quite dark here. The eye I'm going to avoid. I'll try and remember where that is and not wet that. So that's the dark bits. This looks really rather bold, and it is. And this cat's got a little dark bit on its paw here. And the rest is quite light. So that's the really dark colour, black. Now, in fact, I'm going to move that to one side because I don't want to put any more black on. Purple. I'm going to use the purple next because I kind of want little bits of colour now. So when I look at this, I can sort of see hints of blue, but if I'm honest, for the rest of it, do you know, I'm just going to make it up. I'm going to make this a little bit more interesting. So we'll have some purpley bits here. This will come out like this, just a little bit more interesting rather than the black. So it's a bit like when you're mixing watercolour. I would never buy a black watercolour. I would always mix a black, mix a really, really dark colour, and I might use a purple and maybe an orange, like a shadow colour, and autumn gold. They make most gorgeous darks with maybe some dark midnight green. So we're sort of looking at colours that we would use to make the darks. So I'm going to use this blue now. This is quite a bright blue. And I'm going to put this, I'm deliberately going to put this near the whiter part of the cat because I want some of this colour to bleed in here into the shadow of the white. Some nice bits of dark. I'm really pressing quite firmly. Let's get some blue here. A hint of blue there because it's kind of in shadow, and barely touch the paper. Hint of blue there. Bit of a hint of blue, a bit of a shadow is going to go here. Hardly anything, but really, as soon as I put the water on, you'll see this is going to be quite blue. Hint of blue here. Barely touching that paper. And you know, I can kind of see hints of blue there. This is going to be quite dramatic. When you see it, you'll think, no, surely that wasn't. Right, a little bit of the dark. This is another blue. Just a bit of variation. It doesn't have to go all over. Just, you know, gives it a little bit of variation. And then I'm going to use some pink. That will just give it a little bit of warmth. I also want to use it for the collar. It's a lovely little collar. And a little pink nose. Gorgeous little pink nose. There we are. And just to make this a little bit, you know, just to link this colour through a little bit. I'll just put a little bit somewhere else. Okay, and then back to, I'll just put my black and I'll just do a couple of little claws there. And then I think I'm ready to put the water on. So I'm going to move the pencils. I tend to do this, keep them out of the way when I'm using the water. So those are the colours. And I use my number 10. It's a classic, it's a sable. And I'm just going to start really with the little pink nose. Just a little bit of pink. And get the feel of how much pigment is moving. Oh, this is just, it's velvety. And the very moment you touch it, it comes off into the brush. It's just lovely. So these Inktense pencils are so intense. Oh. And remember, so there's the little eye, I want to avoid that. Oh, this is just lovely. Nice and dark here. And the moment I start working down the cat, I'm very aware that I'm picking up colour. Clean water. I'll do the little collar at the same time. I wanted to show you just how bold. Oh, now, it's a little bit lighter here. I'm getting distracted. A little bit lighter. I wanted to show you just how bold you use these pencils. You can really press quite hard and get lots of pigment, but they are very dramatic into the water, just onto the edge. I'm going to soften this in a minute. We're just going to get the edge of this cat. I don't want to churn this up, because if I churn it up, I'll just get one colour. I do want to see all the colours within the cat. This is what makes it quite interesting. Now, it's soft towards the whiter part. So I'm just going to touch the edge. I'm inviting a little of that colour to move, just a little. And if it doesn't, we can literally take a little and move it. So just touch the edge. And of course, the moment I touch here, remember we did put a tiny, tiny amount on. This is just going to give us the shadow on the cat. And if I don't want the texture, I just rub it a little. Okay, back into the water. Let's do this bit here while we've got the brush wet. I don't want a line, so I'm just going to rub that a little bit. Dark bit down here. I'll just let that soak a little into there. A bit here. Clean the brush out, because just here, a little bit of light. And then again, clean the brush out. Back to here. Okay. And then we've got a little bit of shadow here. So straight onto that colour that we had. And then I'm just going to just catch that there. Okay. Now the edge that I've created is using just an ordinary pencil, so we can rub that out. And we're left with these really bold colours. Now the more I tap, I can soften that and push some of the colour into the white. So if I wanted a soft edge here, I'd just dampen it and just push it in. So that way I can create these really lovely colourful edges. Now this is quite a dark edge. I don't want to lose that nice section. And I don't want to lose this shape here. But really, that's all there is to it. So you put the Inktense on the dry, on a rough paper. I'll tell you what I will do. I'm just going to give that cat something to look at. I've got a little bit of watercolour here on my palette. Let's just do this. So we put the Inktense on when it's dry. Little tiny butterfly there, look. That's what it's looking at. We won't make it quite so dark. So I'll just thirsty brush. And this is just watercolour, so it'll just lift a little, just so that it hasn't got quite so much dark on it. There we go. So Inktense onto the, it's actually Bockingford rough watercolour paper, £140. Really rub with it so that you get this lovely texture. And then when you put the water on, you're just going to hydrate it. I used the number 10 sable brush. A natural haired brush is better. I find the synthetic brushes tend to churn it up a little, so be very gentle. You can move the pigment around, but remember to clean your brush out all the time. So that's Inktense, quite bright and vibrant as opposed to the Graphitint that have more graphite in. Very, very simple to use. Have a go.